Hi, welcome to a new video dedicated to a new tiny whoop brushless machine. It's the ARRIS X90 and I got the bundle including as well a small compact 3-inch FPV mask. So what we have in hand, a full relatively cheap brushless tiny whoop style FPV machine. So what are the ingredients to be so cheap? No miracle, the electronic is not the ultimate one. For example, we have a basic F3 omnibus board. It's including an OSD, but be aware immediately is not a Betaflight compatible OSD. It's based on the I would say old MW OSD chip, so you will need to enable the serial and to program to update, for example, some changes to program through a FTDI serial converter. No direct USB programming through this OSD. We have some 1104 brushless motor spinning at 7800 kV. The FPV ring is based on a small IO camera module. 520 TVL only, okay, but 48 channels supporting, and the output power is 25 milliwatts. We have a 12 ampere 4-in-1 ESC board supporting BLLES and D-Shock 600. Okay, and well, you will see that it's more or less mimicking the tiny whoop in small, I would say in more larger categories, because it's a 90 millimeters. Okay, so let's discover everything. Here are all the elements including in the boxes. I will start with the FPV mask, and look that it's really another clone of the Oachin VR006. So we have a 3 inches FPV mask where the output resolution is 500 by 300. It means that any native PAL or NTSC source will be downscaled, okay, by the limitation of the built-in 3-inch screen, okay, but it is not so catastrophic. On the right side we have the different button, one menu and one plus and minus to decrease or increase the current selected parameters. Power button where you will need to press more than 3 seconds, even 4, to turn on and off the machine, and a long press when it's turned on this button to run the scanning procedure. It will scan the 48 supported channel. One unique antennas, no diversity, okay, and here on top we have a 3.5 jack connector where it's only accepting an AV in, no AV out. Regrettably, that is no possibility to plug directly a DVR recorder. Finally, on the left side we have the micro USB port when you can charge through it through a normal USB cable the built-in battery. So to turn on you have to long press this button, and after a couple of seconds the display will be here, okay, even more than 4 seconds, okay, is here, where you can see that well, the two OSD information are displayed, at least the battery voltage on the bottom left and the current VFREC on the bottom right, okay, and for mine I've got probably some dead pixel, nothing catastrophic, so the general quality is not impressive. And I would say the major drawback of this mask is the short distance between the screen to your nose. It means that you need absolutely perfect vision. As soon as you have some hypermetropia, astigmatia or myopia, you will meet some problem. And I would say that the opening, okay, of this mask is too short, too narrow to really support vision glasses, okay, to wear and simultaneously, okay. For example, the opening in width is only 11 centimeters, where in maximum in 8 is about, okay, something about 3.5 centimeters. So it's quite narrow, really not really compatible with the possibility to wear vision glasses. Okay, so this goggle is only good if you have a perfect view, and I will say more, if you don't have this FPV goggles will really soon decrease your vision, and you will probably have to take doctor meeting with your ophthalmologist. Okay, so really I don't advise really this FPV mask. So And let's continue with the accessories. We have a bag with unique PSMA antennas, linear one, a cable to recharge through your PC port the built-in battery, some wipes to clean the built-in screen, all the instruction manual where we have the main characteristics. The sensitivity is announced to be -95 dB. Okay, and we have some AirPCMA connector and all the navigation. So if I can show you the different settings available, we can tune the brightness. So we just need to press the menu. We can press set the brightness. Oh, sorry. The contrast, the distortion, the AV in, but unfortunately the AV is not an AV out. Okay, and finally, if we display the VFRAC simultaneously in terms of built-in OSD. So it's quite limited, but for a very cheap basic FPV mask, why not? We have an head strap, okay, to attach with 3 points. That's good, and the sponge, the facial mask is pretty good, at least one good point. Let's continue with the quadcopter. And it's first things, it's big for a tiny whoop clone, and it will be definitively confirmed that it's something about a 90 millimeters machine. Okay, 90 millimeters motors, 2 motors. And first things, we have some 2-inch props, transparent prop, but no screws to attach them. So be aware in mid-flight to not have some ejection problem, but good news is not happening. So what we have, the main power guard duct system is in plastic. Do I feel very durable? Not completely sure. It's not bad, but I'm not really impressed. And we have the main hex lower structure. It's a carbon one, and to be more precise, the thickness of it is indirectly, if I can access, something about 2 millimeters. Okay, is not among the largest, so I will take more in the lateral side. We have something about 2 millimeters carbon main plate. On bottom side, we have the battery casing, where the battery, a 2S LiPo, fit pretty well and very well fastened inside, so no real risk of ejection. But this battery tray will play the role also of landing skid. That's good, but on the other hand, we'll add something about 4 or 5 extra grams. I will scale it without the battery, and my first impression that it's pretty heavy, especially for a 2S setup. And without battery is already at 82.5 grams. So with the battery, we are close to 120.2 grams. It's a lot for 2S live setup. Okay, so the props are quadruplate 2-inch. Okay, and only maybe 5-6 grams can be saved. And in the packaging, I forgot to mention, they deliver some rubber band if you want to decide to remove this battery tray. In that sense, you will need to remove this one front here screws and the one on the rear side to remove this compartment. Let's continue. We have a top canopy, okay, relatively rigid plastic, and here and installed on front the lens of the 520 TVL IO camera module. There is no real up tilt angle. It's pretty flat, but just a small positive and no possibility to adjust it manually. We have the 5.8 GHz linear antennas, and here I pre-installed the 2.4 GHz antenna. And let's now start some, I will say, some drawback of this machine. When I received it, first of all, I was looking for how to bind this machine, and I discovered that with the FirSky version, it's a FirSky XM built-in receiver. So it could be great in terms of range, but the position of it was pretty strange, and the bind button was completely blocked by the main flight controller and the upper carbon plate. So there was no real possibility to reach the bind button, even by a thin screwdriver tip. It was not possible to press and to plug simultaneously the battery. Another drawback, okay. Even if you power the flight controller with a plus 5 volt, the FirSky receiver is not powered with, so you need definitively to use a LiPo to power the receiver to bind, and it's not top of view. So what I did, I had to remove the top canopy plastic structure. So how to proceed? You have to remove this 1, 2, and the last on the rear side, third M2 X screws. Then you can split into this machine, and after you have to remove this small 4 nylon bolt, okay, maintaining the top structure. Then you can access to the FirSky receiver and upside down, so install more the antenna front in order to have just below the bind button available, at least by removing the top canopy. So it's the worst scenario in my point of view. So I enjoy this moment to pass through this whole the 2.4 GHz antenna. So really I didn't like out of the box was installed the FirSky receiver. So a lot of works out of the box to at least to manage to bind it. It's a FirSky XM. You have to bind it in D16 mode, and I will say that the built-in firmware install didn't export the RSSI on the last channel. You will say that is useless because it's not a Betaflight OSD firmware install, it's an MWSD, and this one I'm not sure that it can handle the OSD forwarding through an aux channel. So that's another drawback, and I didn't see, okay, on any of this F3 board any port to, for example, to plug a 4-position 1.25mm GST connector to install, for example, to make your MWSD update more easy. That's really a drawback. Can I continue? Well, the FPV camera is a little bit limited in terms of I would say light sensitivities and as well the capacity. So I'm not impressed actually with the characteristic. Let's continue with the battery. We have a GST connector, announced to be 30C. If it's true or not, we will see. This one weighs standalone about, okay, let's measure that, about 37.7 gram, and if you need some exact dimension, it's a 700 mAh model. It's about 57 millimeters by 24 by 15 millimeters, and as I said previously, it fit perfectly the compartment. So we have an F3 omnibus, a little bit old. So the frequency used is about 2 kilos, 1 kilo respectively for the gyros and main PID loops. Is not super fast. G-Shock 300 is selected by default, okay, and there is no I will say the motor stop is previously selected. We have a buzzer, okay, at least it's good. So if you lose it, but in the field, okay, in some tall grass, it can be very, very useful. As it's only a 2S setup, you can probably lack of power, especially in a fast U-turn. So you have to apply the classic trick with such machine. This trick is to inverse the sense of rotation of motor. It means that first you will need to inverse the props. So here you have to inverse the left and right front and the left and right rear. Then you have to select in the Betaflight the other X quadcopter design with a counterclockwise front left motors. And the third thing to do is with BLE configurator to reverse all the sense of the motors. Okay, then the motor will spin indifferently, will not collect the tall herbs into the lens, and will handle a little bit better the fast U-turn, and you won't see any bending like this really usually happening with such type of machine. So the main question for 120 gram machine, will a 2S setup will be enough? The flight time will be probably hugely impacted. Okay, so definitively as prior, I am not impressed with this machine. So it's time to discover the different Betaflight and BLE configuration, okay? And I will probably immediately also show how to inverse, as I mentioned, the sense of rotation of the motors. So let's continue with the configuration part. Let's continue with the default Betaflight configuration. First, a remark important: you cannot use any type of micro USB cable. You need one with a very thin hub and for the micro USB section. If not, the connector hub will be partially blocked with the top plastic structure, so it will be very hard to insert. So definitively a thin one is highly recommended. So I will press the connection, and immediately I will type the current version install, and we can see that we have a pretty old Betaflight version, the branch 3.1, to be more precise, the version 3.1.5. so it's clearly associated with the same old electronic used 1.5 years ago, and we will dump immediately the current values to be sure that to restore in any case all the default settings if we did a mistake somewhere. So copy all these elements, okay, and paste into a empty text file what I did, and in case to restore them, copy and paste from this text file into the CLI all these commands, and don't forget to end with the save command. Okay, let's start to discover the setup. So I will need to reboot. Okay, so we have the gyros and accelerometers, and in terms of port, since we have a FSK XM connected with S-Bus, we have the UART3 serial bus turn on. More, since it's using the MW OSD as not a built-in Betaflight, we have also to have the MCPs turned on for the UART2. Okay, it's pretty important. Don't forget to use it if you want the OSD information be displayed. In terms of configuration, as I said, we have a Quad X, normal sense of rotation, and if you want to inverse the props, you will need, for example, to change the different values, okay, and it's somewhere here where you can select, for example, the sense of rotation of your Quad X. Okay, so you have the D-Shot 300 selected, connected subboard D-Shot 600, it's an open equation, but by default it's a 300. As I said previously, the gyros is set to 2 kilos for the loop and 1 kilos for the main PIDs. Actually, the CPU load is about 7%, so it should support at least 2 kilos without problem. Let's do it. Okay, we will save, and we will check the default. The new CPU load is not increasing a lot. That's good point. No specific board alignment. Okay. And let's check the default receiver configuration. We have the serial protocol, okay, and more particularly the S-Bus 1, okay, so no surprise. And in term, well, we can see that we have the LED strip display, and since we don't have any LED lights, so it can be disabled, as well as the black box, okay, and the OSD should be kept in case it's influencing as well the MW OSD. Let's continue. Okay, and we are reading the battery voltage with the different values, is more associated classically with the PIDs. Let's change a little bit the values. We have the classic Betaflight 3.1, okay, so with a small d, so it's good to not have warm motors, but the rates are pretty small, so we need to increase them, especially when we know that for a tiny whoop machine these values are a little bit limited, so at least 900 degrees per second is highly recommended. Okay, and for the yaw, I will select something more linearly with this type of values. Okay, and I will save it. okay. Okay, or even 33 is okay for me. Blah blah blah. It's all the other parameters seems to be standard. 50 for the level strength in angle and horizon, and we have no specific values for the filters. So all these parts have been also upgraded with the branch 3.2 and 3.3 of Betaflight, so it's highly recommended versus time to update with for a new fresher Betaflight version. For the receiver, okay, and as I said previously, even if you turn on the radio, the USB won't be strong enough to power all the receiver, so you will need to plug the battery, and when it will be done, you can see that is here where we have the selection, okay, and I've got some problem with the scale, so probably I will need to decrease a little bit the maximum values associated with, okay, and I'll have to set all the values because my response for the roll is not super good, okay, so I have to check that. For the yaw, etc., everything is okay, and the throttle as well. For arming, be sure that you go at least below the 1080 values, and it's always good to apply a deadband at least for the yaw and ARC1. I will save that, okay, and let's continue. And as you can see, no sign of RSSI activity, whatever the any aux12 or aux5, so it's unfortunately. In terms of flight mode, we have the aux1 is associated with arming and angle mode, and one is down, you are in a pure acro, okay, and the aux2 is associated with the beeper, okay, so it's pretty good when you want to charge, look for your last machine. In terms of motors, we have classic motors. OSD is not available because it's not a Betaflight OSD, and everything is here. So we are ready to go, and now I will show, if I continue, how to invert the sense of rotation of the motors. Let's reflash a new Betaflight version. So I load for the SPI Racing F3 board of the last version of the branch 3.2, almost among the last one. I will load the firmware online, and then I will be ready to flash. Okay, so I'm ready, so I will need to reconnect, and often I need to unplug the USB to replug after the flashing, and I will ready to connect, and let's check that we have the real version installed, clearly the version 3.2.5, so we're ready to go. So let's check the port, and we have to turn on the UART3 to MSP, and the serial turn on. We will save and reboot. Okay, it's done. Let's check now the configuration. So the novelty with the branch 3.2, we can reverse the sense of rotation. So as I mentioned in the first part of the video, you will need to swap the left and right props, okay, for front and rear section, okay, and it will be ready to go. So I will continue like this. I will select the D-Shot 600, okay, and I will keep like this with 4.5%. In terms of loop, I will select the 2 kilos, and I will disable the parameters, okay, and let's continue. We will select the receiver, so we have a serial turn on, and more particularly the S-bus. We continue to read RSSI, and the telemetry is here, and I will disable it and turn on the OSD. Okay, ready to go. I will save and reboot. Perfect, and that continue to power. We continue with this reading. In terms of PIDs, I will keep the default Betaflight, but I will increase the values here for the rates and increase to something. Okay, 1000 degrees is not so bad, and for the yaw answer, something about 33 is okay for me. I will save. Okay, and in terms of filter, I will keep the big quad, or you can select the PT1 or the finite impulse response answers. So whatever you want, I will keep more this one, or even better, probably in the configuration, I will try to activate the dynamic filtering. Could be always good, and actually we have only few percent of the CPU usage, so after the dynamic filtering will be a little bit more loaded, but not so much more. For the receiver, so as I said mentioned previously, I will need to now to replug the battery, okay, and turn on the radio. We should see, and good news now, the AUX2 showed a RSSI. So unfortunately, since this one don't, I will say, don't handle the OSD, Betaflight OSD, we won't see any RSSI information with the current firmware of the OSD. That's a drawback. Anyway, we have everything here. The mistake was coming from the receiver section, okay, and we have the stick low threshold. Always good to apply an RC band, okay, and voila. So I will press save, and let's check now the mode. I will use a harm and something about these values for the AUX1. Okay, so we'll be ready, and I will use more a slightly different flight mode, and with the AUX1 I will use a beeper in the middle position. So where is the beeper? Somewhere. Beeper here, and I will use here in the middle range for AUX1. So it means that when I will put the AUX1 in middle position, I will activate the beeper, and when is bottom, I will harm the machine. Okay, and now the AUX2 will be more for the flight mode, where I will have for the angle mode more in the upper AUX2 position. And I will use more horizon in the middle, and then I will have something more acro plus the air mode. Okay, for the and I will add also the anti-gravity also for the last acro setting. So I will save that. Okay, and now I can check that I have horizon for AUX2, and that's correct. So I will take something like this. I will save. Okay, and then everything is here. Horizon, anti-gravity plus acro. So now let's check the OSD. Still, we don't have any OSD information. So unfortunately, we cannot use it. Okay, and we won't use this OSD information as far I know. So now it's time to continue. And we need to reverse the sense of rotation in Betaflight configurator. So let's check the default Betaflight configurator. So I will plug the battery first, okay, and then connect the USB. Then I will press connect. Then I will press the read setup. And after a couple of seconds, everything should appear. So I will press break and stop. It's always good. And as you can see, the ESC1 and 2 are reverse. So what we want to reverse all the sense of rotation. It means that if the ESC1 was reverse, we press normal, and this one normal, and then change for the 3 and 4. So here it was normal, we will change to reverse, and on the fourth one to reverse. We will right setup. So the last thing to do is to swap the both front left and right props. Okay, so the front right with the front left, and the rear left with the rear right props. And then we are ready to go. Okay, so now it's time to go in the field. Welcome to the demo flight of the ARRIS X90 in outdoors configuration. And well, I will start more in lost condition with the basic setting, but I inverted the sense of rotation. So as you can see now, the props, the front left is counterclockwise and so on. Okay, so I check my last part of the Betaflight embedded configuration. Let's start with the loss condition to check how strong or not the punch out in 2S setup and continue in FPV. Okay, so let's arm the machine and let's go. So with the basic rate, we'll check the punch out. I can feel it's not super strong. 1, 2, 3, go. Wow, not impressive, but not so bad. Let's see maximum rate. Yes, thanks to the new prop settings, I don't feel any bending. Okay, here after a year past year, so it's pretty good. Okay, now it's time to continue in FPV. Second part of the demo flight of the X90, and as you can see, I lost the props in the my near field playground station. Definitively, since there is no X screws maintaining the props into the main shaft, it's strongly advised to install some. And here, because I lost one, I decided to replace 4 of them by some 2-inch 2035, but this time more some Racer Star model versus the original Gen Fan. So I will start to continue in 2S, okay, in my favorite more wider spot. And another good news, when I flashed the last Betaflight version, the RSSI was here, okay, at least on the Aux12, and I decided as well to turn on the RSSI display you have to play with the sticks command in order to enter into the OSD different settings, and you need to activate both the RSSI, of course, but also the information transmitted by the flight controller. So you have to also to turn on this option, and then you will have the RSSI. Unfortunately, no possibility to tune the layout of this item, but at least you can now enjoy some RSSI feedback. So we'll continue with the original 2S LiPo, and I found that there are some 3S LiPo directly fitting the battery tray. There are some 350 mAh power, so twice more less than capacity, but there are 3S ending with the JST connector. So I will test in 3S setup and see how punchy I will be with this stronger voltage. So let's go now in FPV. Okay, here is my final feeling about this X90. As you can see on the last one, I crashed a bit and I broke 2 props and it was still able to fly. It was incredible. So with a lot of vibration, so I managed to come nearby my takeoff location. Whatever, what I can think about this quadcopter is based on quite old electronics, something about 1.5 years old, but it's still working fine. It's working fine from 2S. It's not a monster of power, but it's super stable. I strongly advise to update with the last Betaflight settings. It's improving a lot of situation, and more you can enjoy the RSSI for free, so that's great. No possibility to tune the lens orientation, so it's not really compatible with aggressive flight, but for basic outdoors trainer. It's not really for indoors. It's more than 120 grams, so it's more for something wide open space like this, and it's very firm. You can really do some nice acro figure styles. It's working in 3S, that's great, and you need to choose your favorite 3S LiPo. And if you want to use more larger 3S, remove this canopy bay and wrap the battery through the 2 ribbon cable provided in the packaging. Whatever is pretty cheap. Concerning the FPV mask, I don't strongly advise it, except if you want to kill your vision, okay, versus time, because the Fresnel lens and the screen is too narrow from your eyes, so the distance is not large enough, okay, to have a secure vision. So it's a nice quadcopter, relatively robust, but be aware, I deeply regret the absence of spare props, the non-presence of screws to maintain the props, and as you can see, you can hit very easily some props. As soon as you have, for example, a crash, the props will touch the prop guard and will break them, especially the rest start known to be more fragile. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this new video. If you like it, please send it, and see you next time. Bye bye.